All right, welcome to High Ground Odyssey. I'm Homer Sparrow. I'm a retiring combat engineer and professor of leadership.
Charlie Sparrow is brother, trainer, frontline leader, data guy, mostly just giant nerd. Welcome, everybody.
All right, cue the intro. So, what are we talking about today, Charlie?
Well, I realized I'm more the rambler guy, and you're more the putting a button on things guy. So how about you put the button on things, and I stop rambling about trying to be the explainer guy.
So, you're saying I'm concise?
Yeah, that. See?
All right. The topic for today, we're going to talk about setting a vision for ourselves a little bit. And that's kind of customary to start a self-help or a leadership book with try to figure out where you're going. In addition to knowing where you're going, it's helpful to know where you are. So in military jargon speak, if I was doing land navigation, I would shoot a back azimuth from where I am to where I was, and that would help me figure out where I'm going.
I have no idea what a back azimuth is.
A back azimuth. So if you have a map and a protractor and a compass and you can figure out which direction you're going, you might be able to, like if you see a water tower in the distance, you could shoot an azimuth from where you are to that water tower, and knowing where they are on the map and where they are on the ground, you can triangulate your position.
Oh, okay. Sorry, this is I'm probably the only one confused on this. I'm so bad at land navigation and know absolutely nothing. But this is helping me.
That's all right. I thought you were a Boy Scout. I thought that was going to be an
Oh, ouch. Yeah. Yeah, technically an Eagle Scout actually.
Good for you. Yeah. So the point being that in order to know where you are, it's helpful to know where you've been, to understand your past, your ancestry, where you came from. That helps you know how you got to where you are and helps you figure out how to use that to get to where you're trying to go. That's the longest introduction ever. So
sorry, my fault.
That's okay. Let's jump into the first clip here. What do you got for us today?
I was going to resist weaving this much Star Wars into the early shows, but
we're not watching Star Wars, are we?
Nothing says genealogy and what you came from quite like Star Wars.
So you got to know, like I know it's coming, right? This is for the first time live. Well, not live, after it gets edited. This is the first time I will ever. This is obviously an iconic clip you're about to show me. I'm sure you're excited to see my reaction. I've obviously heard this as a reference many times to whole Luke, I'm your father.
Cool thing about this for me, I actually got to experience this as a surprise.
Oh, really?
Kind of lucked out on that. There are not many people from either of our generations that can say that.
That's probably true. Where are they? This is like.
So they're on the Death Star.
I don't know what.
That's the big moon ship.
Okay, but he lost his hand. Luke has no hand. He has no hand for the rest of the movies.
They give him a mechanical one after this.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. Cuts his hand.
Join me.
I mean, I'm sure that it's like seared. I imagine it as a hot thing, right? So it's
cauterized, yeah.
Cauterized.
Yeah.
If you only knew the power of the dark side, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough.
He told me you killed him. No. I am your father.
Oh. It's not true.
Oh, he's crying.
That impossible.
He's not that good.
You know it to be true.
You know what I just decided on the acting thing? I think you were about to say he's not that good of an actor.
I don't know. I was trying to decide.
And destroy the Emperor.
I just now decided to give him grace because he's not only acting that emotional distress, but the dude just got his hand cut off.
Yeah.
So maybe that's that. Maybe he was playing the hurt arm and the emotional distress there together.
It is the only way.
He just. Oh, you mean he could have just jumped off at any point and slid down the slide to freedom at any point? He could have just Peter Panned off that thing.
I think it was a risk either way. I don't think it was a guaranteed thing.
No, I gotta say, I'm a touch disappointed. It wasn't quite as dramatic. So maybe for you, was it dramatic figuring out that that was his father?
I was like mouth open, like, whoa, what? Like the bad guy's his dad? No, it was cool.
That's great.
Part of the emotional impact is that he's making him question the integrity of his mentor too. Before Yoda, he worked with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and
help me out here. So who does he think is his dad? Is he like
So he was raised by his aunt and uncle and didn't know who his parents were. There's like a little bit of backstory they gave him like fought in the Clone Wars kind of a thing. But that's about all. That's about all he knows.
Interesting.
It's good stuff.
All right, let's this book entry this week is a little long. We're calling this chapter 0. I think I just felt like I needed one more crack at an introduction before I jumped into the meat of things. But this is really a way of setting up the story in one more way. So let me just jump in and read this.
Okay.
So my great-grandfather immigrated to the United States from Australia in the late 1800s. His father migrated to Australia from England in an era when most people from England associated Australia with criminals. I continue to search for the reasons he made that voyage. What I do know is that his descendants, my grandfather and his father, were tough men. During the Great Depression of the 1930s, when despair and tragedy crippled the nation, my great-grandfather, Charles Sparrow, who Charlie is named after, was not selling, he was buying. He acquired a significant stretch of ground in an arid valley in southeastern Idaho, which he cleared of sagebrush and rocks with the aid of good horses and 4 sons. In the 1940s, when his other sons received agricultural deferments to stay out of the war, one boy, my grandfather, Raymond Sparrow, did not defer. He was drafted into the army, and Private Sparrow was in France guarding prisoners of war when, in an escape attempt, one of the prisoners shanked him in the abdomen with a jagged piece of metal. While recovering aboard a hospital ship, Army leaders discovered that this Idaho farm kid could weld. He then spent the rest of the war welding ships. He returned home with little fanfare to a family where his brothers had already staked claims. Rather than cause contention, he sought employment elsewhere. There were plenty of infrastructure projects in those days, and his skills as a welder would serve him well. My aunt, in later years, presented me with parts of his army uniform, including his Eisenhower jacket, which I consider today as one of my prizest possessions. I never asked Grandpa Sparrow about his time in World War II. I never asked him much about anything, despite working side by side with him almost daily on the farm growing up. What I relay here, I know only from the little that my dad shared with me after my grandfather had passed away. I pause from storytelling at this point to impart some of the little wisdom I have, as I will do throughout the book. The second to do, the first being to look for extraordinary in the ordinary, and tell your story, suggested in the introduction, is to find out who you are, where you came from. I know it's not earth-shattering advice, and most readers will determine by now whether to read on or add this to the stack of books they started to read and never got into. I pause from storytelling at this point to impart some of the little wisdom I have, as I will do throughout the book. The second to do, the first being to look for the extraordinary in the ordinary and tell your own story, suggested in the introduction, is to find out who you are and where you came from. I know it's not earth-shattering advice, and most readers will determine by now whether to read on or add this to their stack of books they started to read and never got into. Also, probably already obvious, I have a lot of learning to do myself, as I don't know why my third great-grandfather went to Australia in the first place. But truth is true, regardless of who it comes from and how simple it might be. The power of self-reflection does not cease to amaze me. Knowing who you are helps establish a starting point. It provides a lens through which to look out into the future and determine where you want to be. Many self-help leadership books start here with creating a vision. I agree that knowing where you are going is invaluable. And I add, it starts with understanding where you are. And where you are starts with knowing where you came from. Your personal backstory, even your setbacks, are all part of the setup for who you can become. The first lesson, spoiler alert, is tied inseparably to the last. If you understand the power of the past, you also understand the power you can have on the future, the power of leaving a legacy. I illustrate by sharing some of the legacy of my grandpa Raymond's bride, my grandma Mardine Sparrow. She married at age 16 and had 6 kids in an era and place where horses and wagons still took families to church. She was a woman of conviction, her devotion evident as she sang praises. She sang with an amazing soprano voice, and she knew the words to all the hymns and didn't have to be seated on the choir seat to be heard over the congregation. Grandma Sparrow left a legacy of combining these two ideas, of finding motivational stories in everyday life and remembering the stories of the past. In her own words, the following is the story of Chub and Jack. Punctuation and grammar are deliberately not corrected. In his last years, let me start that over. In his later years, Daddy had a saying above his desk. Every man in his lifetime is entitled to one good wife, one good horse, and one good dog. Daddy had each of these in his life, and each could be the subject for many stories and experiences, humorous, serious, faith-promoting, or character-building. My subject for this story is Daddy's team, Chub and Jack. They are legend in our family. When the folks were first married, they bought a piece of land at the mouth of Meat Creek Canyon. I'm going to read this again. You'll have to edit that out.
Okay.
When the folks were first married, they bought a piece of land at the mouth of Mink Creek. It was about 60 acres with a good water right. Much of of it was covered with sagebrush and willow. Daddy, with the help of his choice team of horses, set to work to move a little 2-room house to the property and then to clear the land. Chub and Jack were well matched, and they were obedient. Daddy described them as being a good, honest team. He said they worked together, and he never asked them to pull but what they gave him all they had. It was custom for the men to get their winter wood out of the Strawberry Canyon. Several men would go together, taking their teams and helping each other. One day, while they were cutting and loading their logs, a snowslide came down the mountain and blocked the road. When the men began to return home, some had gone ahead of Dad. They came to the slide and each tried to go through, but their teams balked. Not one could get his team to pull through the slide. Then they said, "We'll wait for Bill. His team will pull through." Sure enough, Chub and Jack pulled through. Equal to the faith Daddy had for them, they gave the task all they had, and working together, being obedient to their beloved master, they pulled through the snowslide. Then the other teams could follow where the trail was broken. You know, a team can be a couple, a family, or a group of people of any size with a common purpose or goal. We can pull through the snowslides of life if we are obedient to the master, work together as a team, and give it the effort all we've got. I want to be like Chub and Jack. I want to be like Daddy's team. I want to pull through any problem, any snowslide that might block my road. I want to pull through with my testimony still firm, my faith and love for my Savior still strong. I know the Lord loves me and expects me to pull through. After telling, so that's the story from my grandma's words. After telling that story, one critic muttered, "Cool, a feel-good story about horses. I don't have horses for ancestors, and I don't relate to your Christian overtones." To which I respond, this story is about who I am because of where I came from, and sets the stage for where I am going. Take this invitation to find out where you came from, who you are, and where you are going. In addition, some principles are universal and can be internalized for our benefit, regardless of whether they happen to unrelated people or even animals, such as hard work, overcoming obstacles, trust, and teamwork. My grandma died of breast cancer while I was at Army Basic Combat Training. She remained strong and kind to the end, always serving her family and her community. I miss her dearly, and never met anyone who loved their birthday as much as she did. April 16th will forever be celebrated in my house in her honor and her legacy. And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers. The legend of Chub and Jack runs deeper than the solitary conquering of one snowbank. While assisting with the construction of the Twin Lakes Canal, the entrance to the tunnel collapsed, trapping Jack inside. Grandpa Hansen rushed. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to get emotional. Grandpa Hansen rushed to breach a hole through which he passed food and water for weeks, while men and horses cleared dirt and rocks to reopen the tunnel and free the trapped animals. Jack was eventually rescued. Probably have to edit this out.
That's okay. It's all right.
Let's see. Grandpa Hansen rushed to breach a hole through which he passed food and water for weeks, while men and horses cleared dirt rocks to reopen the tunnel and free the trapped animal. Jack was eventually rescued from the tomb, where he was nearly buried alive, but not without lasting effects. The weeks in near pitch blackness left him ultra sensitive to light and nearly blind. He relied heavily on the commands of his head. Cal. He relied heavily on the commands of his handler and the feeling of his teammate next to him to know where to walk and when to pull. Chub remained a loyal companion, guiding him around the yard to avoid obstacles to find food and water, and Jack didn't quit. Despite his disability, he remained useful, helpful, and strong. My connection to this tale is obviously deeply personal. As I face my own challenges, I rely heavily on my teammates to sometimes literally guide me through. I will spare you the details at this point because some are yet too raw to share, but challenge you to derive your own interpretation and meaning from this story. If you haven't already, the lessons of these two are endless and legendary.
Thank you, brother. Once when I asked my brother about the expert marksmanship badge on his uniform, he confessed that he maintained it in spite of his vision being so poor that he could barely see the far targets. He compensated by being very good at being very quick and accurate at close range. In a firefight, he appreciates having a marksman with clean eyes next to him. In this book, it's my job to strive to be a good battle buddy for him. And as he tells the story of his life, to look out to the rest of the world and find similar ideas, stories, studies, and statistics to help back him up and strengthen his position. But in this first or 0th chapter, I first want to put in my 2 cents with another story we share in our heritage. And then I promise to do my job and tell you, backed up by research, why I think Homer's advice to find out who you are and where you came from may be some of his best in the whole book. When our grandpa, William Tony Francis, was young, he was told in a blessing that he would live to a ripe old age. Later, as a radio operator aboard a naval destroyer, the USS Rooks, a kamikaze pilot was spotted diving for their ship, as Grandpa Tony told it, and now many of his progeny tell it. In that moment, he thought to himself, well, Francis, it looks like you're going to have to swim tonight. As a kid, I don't think I was ever told what the moral of that story was supposed to be, but I'm even more in awe of it now than I was hearing about it as a kid. In my mind, I see the words coming from a handsome face I've seen in pictures of him wearing his naval uniform proudly. I see him on a battleship of the Pacific Fleet doing his duty with optimism and hope, even as doom and fear loom large. I also see it sitting at the feet of a warm, barrel-chested old man, as his face gleamed with love, his lips curved with joy, his eyes filled with tears, and his voice choked with emotion. Most of my memories of Grandpa are of him smiling even as his voice would catch while telling a story or sharing something important to him. And I think we both got that, as you can see many times yet. His optimism, strength, and warmth give me strength whenever I think of him, tell his stories, or sing his songs. Some of my favorite research ever done anywhere ever is done with a do you know scale and other studies it has inspired. Essentially, Children are given a list of 20 yes or no questions, asking them if they know things about their parents, grandparents, etc. The results are consistently amazing. The scores on the exam are consistently and strongly correlated with higher self-esteem, a more internal locus of control, and lower anxiety. This isn't just one of those good for kids principles either. A group of university students who were studied while taking a family history class showed an 8% improvement in self-esteem and a 20% reduction in anxiety, with increased family identification acting as a pathway that helped explain broader psychological well-being improvements. Telling heroic, dramatic, emotional, heartfelt, silly, funny, ridiculous, and even apocryphal family and personal stories have been shown to have dramatic benefits. Tell your personal family and your found family stories whenever you get a chance. Ask others to share your stories with you. Watch how it affects you, those you love, and those you lead. And whenever you get a chance, we'd love to hear your stories too.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit of Grandpa Francis in us, Charlie. He was known to get a little emotional about things. It's an emotional topic for us. We care deeply about our heritage, where we came from, and our namesakes, and that study that you shared is significant. If you want
Isn't that
to, yeah,
crazy?
no, anxiety and depression is an epidemic right now, and so, and obviously, if you're clinically depressed, you need to seek more than just anecdotal evidence help, but
Absolutely.
there's definitely things that can help, and gratitude has been shown to help, but this is one that I was not aware of. Such a significant improvement in mental health, just knowing where you came from. So it would be interested to know if it's useful, and I think it is, to tell your company's story too. I had a chance to go to the 20-year anniversary reunion of the Battle of Ramadi, and was there at the headquarters for the Ready Brigade. And man, every soldier that enters that brigade, they walk them over to the plaque with the names of the people who fought and died in the Battle of Ramadi, and they make sure that they know their heritage and where they came from. And I think that's powerful. I think there's, like, all those units have history from World War II and the Korean War and the Vietnam War. Like, people know, when you say Curhy, and when you say Rock of the Marne, or, I think there's power in knowing where your family came from, but also where your unit comes from. I don't know. Are there other examples from a business perspective that are similar?
I know that there are chief of story kind of roles in some companies. Some go as far as that. There's a great book called Lead with a Story that should maybe be the recommendation for this one, or building a story brand.
I like that. And to Charlie's invitation there at the end of what he wrote, we'd love to hear your stories. Our goal here as part of this, the impetus for doing this, is to tell our stories, obviously, first. But as we get an opportunity to tell our own stories, we want to tell the stories of other people, and because the people around us that we run into every day are amazing, and we want to share that.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into this next clip here.
I brought the clip, but I think you're the guy when it comes to mythology. I've loved having you teach me some of that and help me relate it to my life. And I think I'll let you set up this clip for us with that in mind.
So, if you're not familiar with Percy Jackson, he's been kind of an odd kid, and a daydreamer, and he's got some learning disabilities, and he finds out that a lot of these things that he thinks are disabilities are because he's actually a demigod, and he can see things in the supernatural world that other people can't see. So his mom gets him to Camp Half Blood, and his adventures beyond that. I'm holding a copy of this book, a worn copy. This is my daughter's copy of the book. I was walking out the door to come do this podcast, and we got to talking about the first time she read Percy Jackson. Her mom had taken her to a bookstore, a used bookstore. She was probably in the 6th or 7th grade, maybe 11, 12 years old. And her teacher had said, if you're ever in a bookstore, look for one that's well worn, because that means that somebody loved it. And so she's
Oh, I love that. That's such good
Yeah.
advice.
so she saw this teenage kid with a sword on the front, and it was well worn, and she said, Mom, can we get this book? So she took it home. They read all the series. The movies came out. They were not as infatuated with the movies because they don't really follow the books all that well. But there's a new TV series that's out. My kids and I watch it as it comes out, and we're waiting for the next season to come out. So
I'm behind. I'll get on it.
are you
watching
not
it.
familiar with
Excited.
the?
I read the first book a long time ago. I heard bad things about the movies and just hadn't really gotten into the TV show until you recommended it for a clip, and I watched the first episode. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see more of it. It's a great story.
The movies aren't bad. I just think they get a bad rap as being not true to the book. And so I think that's why they get a better at. But the TV series, they're doing a great job, and they're not totally true to the books exactly, but I think they do a little bit better job of capturing the intent. So
I think I'll go on record as saying I don't care about it being true to the book so much as being true to the intent. I think because they're different mediums. And my favorite example is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because I feel like that movie just feels like the book does, even though it's not exactly the book. It feels like it, and I love that. I get the same feeling when I read
captures the sentiment as much as anything. Yeah, true. So really, I brought up Percy Jackson as an excuse to talk about my own ancestry. I know we talked about it a little bit, but I went and did Ancestry.com. It's one of those genetic testing places, and found out that I'm 33% Nordic origin. So I'm a third Norse. So
cool.
Are you familiar with your genetic makeup?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull that up again because I had it open here. Okay. So I'm 25% Dane, 15% Norway, and 2% Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a total of
42%
there.
You're basically a Viking, man. So you're almost half Viking.
That's good news.
So Charlie and I have got, because we found out we have Nordic heritage, then we kind of got into a little bit of Nordic mythology and Norse mythology, and we've discovered that Odin is known as the All-Father. He has at his disposal 2 ravens who go out into the world and collect knowledge and bring them back to him. So the ravens are Hugin and Munin, and they represent memory and thought. So, um, Charlie and I were our last name's Sparrow, so we relate probably way too closely to these ravens.
Love a bird
We love-
analogy. Love a bird metaphor, and I pretend it's always a sparrow, even if it's a raven.
And so I have been sharing memories and stories, and Charlie has added the intellectual insight behind it, and so we've dubbed ourselves as Hugin and Munin as the Ravens of Odin, going out into the world and discovering the knowledge and bringing it back to you. So that's our metaphor for today. So however cheesy it is, we're thrilled about it, and we're gonna make some merchandise. We're gonna get some hats made with some ravens / sparrows on them, and some of the Volcanute symbols, which I think is going to become our symbol for the High Ground Odyssey. Anything else you want to say about that, Charlie?
I'm grateful for all of you that are along this journey with us, and we're excited to share our stories and to hear yours.
We'll see you on the high ground, everybody.
See you on the high ground.